High school football time now on halftime. Get your questions in if you got any of them for our text line at 877-377-6963 because Mr. High School Football is joining us right now from ScorebookLive.com, also one of the hosts of the Friday night High School Football Scoreboard show on this very station you're listening to. It's nobody other than Nate Olson. Nate, how are you?
Great. I appreciate that introduction, Mr. High School Football. I like it.
Well, you and Rex can fight it out a little bit, although Rex also has the whole Division II thing going,
Yeah.
And
you're voice of the Ouachita Baptist Tigers.
Yeah.
Going 3-2-1 to the promised land.
And also somebody, by the way, that if you're co-hosting a show with, like, good luck, you're never going to have a voice any louder than Rex. It just doesn't work that way.
No, you're right about that. My wife would maybe beg to differ, but she needs to spend a couple hours with Rex, and then she probably would change her mind. But yes, both of us loud voices, but he's got me beat. And those, we in our show we do the GAC rewind at the end, the last part of the show, and it goes through all the highlights. Well, then he's on there, it's funny because he's calling the games. I'm sitting across from him and calling a couple of his touchdowns. I hear him in the headset, look at him. And he's just sitting there, like, making some notes about his rankings and stuff. And he's listening to himself call these touchdowns and screaming at the top of his lungs. He's just sitting there, and I'm laughing because I'm, like, sitting across from him and hearing those calls. But there isn't a guy that cares more about his team in Division II college football. He's been doing it for a long time, and the passion that he shows is evident. He's good at that. And I like sitting across from him talking high school football. He's good at that, too.
Well, he knows his football, that's for sure.
Yes, he does.
Let's get into the Battle of Springdale from last week.
Yeah.
Our good friend Drew Barrett was not on the call for this game, but I know
they combined the calls.
He had a very big interest in the outcome of this, and
a lot closer than I thought it would be.
Man, a 1-point victory for Harbor. How'd that go down?
Very interesting, and I thought about you, Drew. I didn't know you weren't on the call. I guess, were you there at the game?
I was not. I was checking in.
He only goes where he's paid to go.
Exactly. I mean, they combined the broadcast with both Springdale games, so Arns and then the Harbor guy did it.
Tried to text you about that because what a heartbreaker for Springdale.
Oh, for sure.
You're right. After the week before getting blanked by West, coming out and playing a team, Harbor, a little bit of a misnomer. I mean, their record's not very good. I think one of the stats that stood out to me here is why Harbor is probably not as good as they should be. Landon Phipps for Springdale runs for 103 yards. Devon Sparks for 134. Their defense is one of the things that has held them back because they have a good offense. But a good quarterback. They've got Hudson Brewer back. They're running the ball. They're putting up points, but they pull away from this one or squeak out this one. 22-yard field goal with 3 seconds left. Justin Gomez. Interesting to note, his older brother Melvin was on the 2009 team that won a state championship. So now Justin has a little bit of bragging rights too. He wins the Battle of Springdale with a 22-yard boot. And interesting to note here too, Springdale had Farmington, a good 5A team down 19-0, loses to them. They have Springdale. They pretty much controlled this game. They led in the first half. They were up 36-21, and then Harbor scores 16 unanswered points to win the ball game. So you got to give Harbor credit for pulling it out, but an ugly win for them. And a team like Springdale, who's struggling to get their identity and trying to come up with something positive with Brett Hobbs, the new coach, this would have been a huge win for them. It would have been a huge win. And the way they have to approach it now is it's got to be in the rearview mirror, but definitely encouraging for them. You just got to finish it off. I mean, if they beat Farmington and Harbor, that's some really couple good wins. They just need to learn how to finish, and they probably will at some point, but a great effort by them. Harbor gets the win. So another battle of Springdale. Not a lot of these have been close, so I think everybody in attendance probably was entertained, and the Harbor fans go home happy.
Oh, I'm sure they were. It was a great game, and you're exactly right. With the young type of team that Springdale has, new coach, it takes it takes time to learn how to close out games and learn how to win.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're on course to figure that out here in the next couple weeks. And before we start to preview, another game that you wanted to recap that was pretty exciting from last weekend was Shiloh at Prairie Grove.
Mm-hmm. This is the one game that if you looked at the schedule in the 1-4A, this is the one game that you would think Shiloh could be challenged in. Although, as I wrote, I think in my rankings, it could be 3 or 4 touchdowns and still it would be the closest game. I was not really expecting Prairie Grove to have a chance to win, but they are the second best team there and a team that could win some playoff games. They've got a potent run game, very physical. A couple of the players commented after the game, Eli Wisdom, about how physical it was. And Shiloh's got a really good offensive line. They protect Wisdom well. Interesting in this game, they ran for 500 yards, and they're kind of known. I mean, they can do that, but Wisdom's a good quarterback, and he's a Division I caliber guy. But they put it on the ground. They scored all their touchdowns on the ground. Wisdom kind of puts the game on ice midway through the fourth with a 15-yard touchdown. But I think at that point it was 28-14. So Prairie Grove was hanging around a little bit, but then a couple touchdowns late, it's 42-14 final. Shiloh proves a point by running the ball so well. They can do it all. And I've mentioned a couple times in the rankings and the comments with them that they may not be tested the rest of the season. I don't know. We look at that every week and try to figure out who in 4A can beat them. Pulaski Robinson, or Joe T. Robinson, they like to be called now, they're explosive offensively, and they got a Marion Harris, whose dad played at Arkansas. He's a Division I Arkansas recruit, big offensive lineman, recruited by a lot of teams. But so they're physical. They've got a decent defense, but I don't even know if they can. I mean, and Warren the same way. They're explosive and athletic, but Shiloh will get the number 1 seed, and they should get home games throughout the playoffs, which is a huge advantage, and they've used that to their advantage several years. They've got a good home crowd there. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're not tested the rest of the year. This was going to be their toughest test in the conference, and you see what happened there. But hats off to Prairie Grove, keeping it relatively close. They had a couple good defensive stands in the second half, and that's all you can do against a team that's that good. And defensively as well, on the both lines, really big. Prairie Grove went toe-to-toe with them and just couldn't contain him in the second half, but a good effort by Danny Absher's group.
Indeed, you got a couple of really big games in the 7A this weekend. Yeah. Kind of like battle for first place with Northside and Conway. Northside's coming off back-to-back shutouts. Bentonville Fayetteville ought to be a really good game too. What do you have on these? Okay, so Conway, boy, I'm really impressed with them, Phil and Drew. I go to the first half of some games. I do a hit for THV 11 during the 6 o'clock news, and then I usually stay at that game for a half, maybe 3/4, and then go on to the radio show. So if it's a real close game, I kind of miss out on the best parts. So I was a little bit, worried about those games because I thought, they're going to be close. I'll miss the end. I did not. I saw what I needed to see in both halves. I saw 2 halves, and I saw what I needed to see. They routed North Little Rock with a big first half. They routed Cabot. Their defense is a lot better than I thought. And Keith Fimple, people in the River Valley know him. He was a defensive coordinator at Southside. He has finally, I think, got his defensive stamp on this team. I mean, last year I saw Brian just destroy them in the playoffs. I mean, they did not have a chance. And, Brian's good. I mean, Brian had a juggernaut offense. I mean, they were hard stuff, but Conway looked like they didn't have any clue. I mean, it was a mess. This year, this defense is attacking, and they punched North Little Rock in the mouth. I mean, big time. And Randy Sanders, for the coach there, he said, I was worried because I looked at the guys, and they looked like they didn't know what to do. And that was a big, the big part of that was Conway. So they're very tenacious on defense. They're fast, not necessarily big, but very aggressive. And then offensively, Donovan Amolo, he's emerged as a quarterback to be reckoned with. He's a sophomore, come out of nowhere, really. He has done a great job. He's a left-hander, threw for almost 300 yards last week. Just
very impressed with this guy during the pregame warm-ups, his poise and composure before these big games. You can tell a lot by watching these teams warm up. Very poised in the game, very poised. He's got Manny Smith, the diminutive receiver, big play guy going to UCA, small guy, but lots of athleticism, and Boogie Carr, good running back, good line up front. So this is going to be a big test for Northside. They pitched 2 shutouts. Their defensive line's very good. They rely on Sunquist Church and Ty Massey to run the football. They're going to run it a lot, and it's going to be an interesting matchup with their line and the aggressive nature of Fimple's defense. That's going to be a matchup to watch. I think it could be close, but I thought those other two were going to be too. This is a little bit of a trap game, though, I think, for Conway, because North Little Rock is a good team. Northside's a good team, and you're going on the road. So wouldn't surprise me if it is close in the second half. Northside needs to get the ball and hold on to it and keep it out of their hands, have long, methodical drives, which is going to be tough to do on this defense. If that's what they need to do, that's going to be the winning formula. And if they can do that and run Church and Massey, they'll have a chance to win. And right. Fayetteville, Bentonville, real
about
quick.
30 seconds to get that in here.
Okay.
You're good.
All right. Well, Division I talent all over the field. It's a 10-year receiver. It's going to be a big test for Bentonville's defense. And Bentonville has Joey Stewart, offensive lineman, that's really helped them out with Josh Ficklin, the running back. So there's athletes all over the field here. We've said that Fayetteville could be a comeback team. They'll be able to prove that Friday night if they are. Bentonville is a stalwart in that league and has won 15 of 16 championships. So they win Friday, they'll probably win another one.
Very thorough.
Appreciate
and,
it, Nate.
Outstanding stuff. Thanks, Nate. Appreciate you. We'll hear you Friday.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
And we'll get him next week for more high school football talk. 877-377-6963. Don't go anywhere because we are coming right
back. And better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your #1 spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With the new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the #1 source for everything football. Head to your website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of these amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.